And good evening to all. Myself Vaibhav. In today's session of Visual JForex, we will be continuing our work using the indicator Parabolic SAR. This is the second part of this series, and in today's session, the focus is going to be on completing the buy side of the equation. So let us now head to the Visual JForex board, which has been developed by the Dukascopy Bank SA. In the last session, I had explained to you how we can get the instrument subscription done, where the Euro USD is being used as the instrument of choice, which was matched with the tick instrument, and in turn, tick instrument was matched with the chosen instrument of Euro USD. The position amount was defined at zero to make sure there is no existing or pending position on the account prior to the execution of a new trade. I have added these parabolic SAR indicator blocks with the varying candle period. No, the candle period remains the same. Only the look back period is different, 1 and 2 respectively. To look at the price volatility, we are also relying on the input candles of this get historical candle with the look back period of 1 and 12. So we will be considering the price volatility over last 12 hours, and depending on that, we will also be looking to optimize the trade entry point. To define certain variables, we have taken into consideration these calculation expressions. Now I will give you a brief refresher of what the logic is. As I said earlier, the session is going to be revolving around getting the algorithmic setup done for execution of the buy trade. So let me explain to you the logic of all the criterions which we are going to put into place for execution of a trade. We want the last hourly candle close to happen above the prior hours parabolic SAR's output value. So if that is the case, only then the new execution will happen. And here we are pretty close, but not exactly close. So I think no execution of the trade will happen here. So let us go back in time. Somewhere here we do have these last hourly candle close happening above the SAR's output value for the prior hour. So here this does satisfy our condition, and then we also want that hourly candles closing value to be higher than the opening price. So that condition is also being fulfilled. Then we look for third condition, which is that the last hourly candle close should be above the closing value of the hourly candle which had closed 12 hours back. So suppose if the time is 9 GMT, then we will have to consider the candle which had closed at 21 GMT, 21st GMT. So this is the hourly candle of our requirement, and here that condition is also being fulfilled. Then the execution will happen depending on whatever is the actual difference between the last hour's SAR's output value on the lower side and the prior hours SAR output value. So whatever is the difference between these two outputs, we will take that into consideration, and we will place the order at half of the distance from half of the value of this difference from the closing value of the last hour. So whatever is the closing value of the last hourly candle, we will deduct half of the difference, and then that order will remain valid for say 4 hours. And if the price indeed dips for that level in next 4 hours, then the execution will go through. So that the logic is going to be. Okay, so now let us turn to the execution part. We have this variable in place where we are looking at the difference between the two SAR output values over last 2 hours. Now we have to define the conditions for the execution of the trade, and for that we are going to need logical component multiple action first. I will join it to the if block and place it on the lower side. All right. Now it's time to consider the SAR output values. We need the closing value of the candle 16, which is the last hourly candle, to be greater than the SAR output of the second last hourly candle. So we have to compare the closing value of the candle 16 with the SAR output of SAR 12. So I have to consider auto created variables, candle 16, candle close, and compare it to SAR output. I think I made an error here, error of commission you can say, so I will change it. It should be SAR 12, first input greater than second input, and we need last hour's opening price candle open to be greater than the last hour's SAR output. Now I have to compare it with SAR 11. Alright. Again, first input greater than second input. Then the candle 16 candle close needs to be greater than the candle 16 candle open. So for that, needs to be compared with the opening price. One more time, the first input needs to be greater than second input. Then the closing value of the candle 16 needs to be greater than the closing value of candle 17, which is the hourly candle which had closed 12 hours back. It has a look back period of 12. So I will compare these two values. First input greater than second input. Again. Alright, so we have defined conditions for the execution of the trade. Now the order execution will take place as soon as the price starts to rise above the last hour's candle close. Coming back to the candle 16 candle close again, we have to consider these as the second input, common input for two if blocks, and then we compare it to 10-second candle closing values. Candle 16 candle close and considering candle 18 candle close, so we have to get it as the first input. First input needs to be greater, and candle 19, which is the second last 10-second candle, its closing value needs to have been lower. So first input less than second input. After that, we will bring in the trade command block, which is going to be a pending open order. First input less than second input. By limit. Now we have to define the input parameters for this trade command block. So we will need to create additional variables there. We have to define the input price and stop loss take profit along with the order validity by creating new variables. For other input parameters, we can assign the value directly. So I will take 0.1 million as the lot amount, lot size, slippage 2 pips is good enough. Then here we create two new variables, values of which will be assigned later on when we get the calculations done. So this will be defined as BSL, and another variable is needed here. Okay, so we have these two variables in place which need to be assigned desired values. One more with long data type. Now coming to execution price. The execution price, as I had explained to you on the JForex chart, is going to be half of the difference of these SAR from the last hour's closing value. That means I will have to take the actual difference and divide it by 2. So I will have to create a new variable with the start value of 2, and this will be named as dividing factor df. So here a1 divided by a2 half of buy side difference. All right, we take whatever is the half of the actual SAR difference and we deduct it from the last hour's closing value, which is candle 16. So I will take candle 16, candle close, and deduct this newly created variable. So this will be a1 minus a2, and this will be our buy execution price. So I will create a variable here, buy execution price, BEP in short. Oh, instead I will create a variable here only and assign it to this trade command block. Now coming to the stop loss and take profit, that is also going to be in proportion of the actual difference of the SAR output. So we take this calculation and multiply it with pip conversion factor. That will be our stop loss. So here I have this. Now I need to create a new variable with the start value of 10,000. as Euro USD has 4 decimal points. This calculation will be A1 into A2 and then it will be named, sorry, we have already put in place the variable, so I will simply assign it here. Alright, then we multiply it with 2 and get the take profit parameter. So it goes as the A1 output, A input, and DF will be the multiplying factor. DF is having the value of 2. Again, this becomes A1 into A2. Take profit will be utilized from this. Okay. Now we need to define one more variable of the order validity. So for that, I need one more of the calculation expression block. So I will take the calculation expression and get new variable defined as OV with the start value of 3.6 million. All right. This will be our second A2 value. First value will be last tick time, and we also have to multiply these 3.6 million ticks by 4, as 1 hour contains 3.6 million ticks. Oh, not new group, we need a new variable. With the start value of 4. This one will become A1 plus A2 into A3 . Alright, and the result of the calculation will be assigned to this variable. Okay, so we have defined all these parameters of the trade command block. Now I will have to join it on the lower side to the multiple action. And get this on the lower side along the cluster of the conditions of the execution of the buy trade. So this is it from my side for today's session. I have explained to you the logical as well as the execution requirement for the execution of the buy trade in an optimum manner using the parabolic SAR indicator. So I hope you have been able to understand the logical and the formation, the execution and formation of these algorithms so far. In the subsequent session, we will be dealing with the sell side of these algorithms. So do come back next time around. For further coverage of the market developments, do check out the Dukascopy Analytics page. We are also available on the Facebook. You can reach out to us there. For carrying out the testing on the historical data, we will need the assistance of the JForex platform. So all these useful links have been provided in the bio. Thank you all for joining in. See you next time around. Till then, goodbye.